Okay, welcome back to another amazing episode of the Scoreboard Addicts podcast. I'm Nick, and with me as always is Anthony the Rook and TJ, who's hammered. This week's episode is brought to you by Inconceivable Condoms. Get on her, stay on her. How are you boys doing?
I'm doing pretty well.
T?
Kind of getting sick and tired of being kept last in this rundown of names. It's bullshit.
That's the last, baby. I go in alphabetical order, man.
It's easy. It's A and T. So
yeah, but everybody likes T and A.
That's not untrue. Are we all drinking beer tonight?
No, I have a whiskey.
There's always that one guy that wants to be an individual.
I got to be the contrarian, right?
Are you coming from like an alumni game or something, Rook?
No.
Your hair's all perfectly coiffed.
Well, yeah, what is that?
I
was going to say something. As a bald man, I want to let you know that your hair is offensive.
Sorry. I actually used gel today, so it's staying in. So
you look like
I remember
Rob Schneider and Grown Ups.
I do. It does look. It's a little high. I do need a haircut.
It does. Oh my God. It's got the pompadour going.
I do.
You want to see mine? There you go.
Let's see it, T. Let's see what oh, look at that. It's down a little bit. There you go.
Want to see mine?
Hey, Nick, let's see yours.
Shiny.
Oh, it's looking at the Ark of the Covenant.
All I know is the Pharaoh was bald in that movie, all right?
Are you his son? You related? You guys brothers?
No.
Yeah.
I am not related to Yul Brynner.
Are you sure?
How do you know? For sure.
I'm pretty sure. I can't put money down on that one. I wouldn't know. For all I know, Yul Brynner is Puerto Rican, and this whole time I didn't know.
We'll only know
like
one
Anthony
way.
Quinn being Mexican.
We got to get him on a bobsled.
Or Mike Tirico being Italian. Did you know that?
Sicilian?
I think he must be.
All right, right on.
All right.
So what do we have on the agenda today? We got a West Coast swing this week. Before we even start, I'm going to say this right now. If I were president for a day, the first law I would make, executive decisions, okay? I would outlaw sporting events from starting beyond 8 p.m. Eastern, all right? Nobody gives a shit about anything that happens on the West Coast. Everything that matters happens here on the East Coast of the United States. That's why it's 8/7 Central, okay? The fact that I got to stay until 10 o'clock at night to watch a fucking Yankee game is ridiculous. And I think MLB paid a little bit of attention because the game started at, 9:30?
9:40.
Yeah, because they know nobody's staying up till 10 o'clock at night. We would have to stay up till 1 o'clock in the morning to watch this shit.
Are you going to stay up till 1 o'clock in the morning? To watch
No, I have a job.
Yeah, neither am I. I'm going to go to sleep after this.
But still, not the point. If I were president for the day, outlawing the West Coast games would start at 5 o'clock if they're playing an East Coast team.
The only time West Coast games are cool is for NFL football. Because then
West Coast, where you can watch Monday Night Football twice?
Yeah. Or like you could, if
but
you're on
usually
the West Coast, your games start like you watch the East Coast games at like 10 a.m. in the morning.
That doesn't work that way.
If you're on the West Coast and you're watching the East Coast game, it's at 10
I'm not talking about them. I'm talking about being on the East Coast watching a West Coast game. Nobody gives a shit what time the West Coast people got to live. They got things to do. All right. The West Coast got nice weather and shit. If it's October or December, they could still go outside. All right. It's not like living on the East Coast where if it's December, you're like, oh God, I hope I don't have to go outside today.
That's true.
All right. I don't see any freaking Chargers or Rams fans bitching about having to go to games in December. They're wearing shorts in December. Us, we have to brush snow off our seats in December.
Or if you're in Philly, you throw snowballs at Santa.
A bad look, Philly. But anyway, I digress. That was my spiel on the West Coast.
We're getting lost in the weeds here.
Yeah. Rook, what are we talking about today?
So first I wanted to start. I don't know if we posted last week's podcast, but last week's podcast, we started with the inspirational story of Hanzo Emmanuel, the one-armed kid who finally got into Division I college basketball team.
That posted on Sunday, by the way.
Oh, you did post it. I didn't see it, so that's why. Okay, so we posted that Sunday. It was just me and Nick. We discussed that. So I kind of wanted to follow that same pattern from going forward, as part of putting an inspirational story first, before we get into all the,
Some good sports
talk.
news.
Yes. And the one that I like is, Nick, you actually shared this with us in our text group that we have, is last year, this guy, David Skins, was working as a DoorDash driver to make ends meet to provide for his family. And after 16 years of trying to get his PGA Tour card, the 39-year-old won the Pinnacle Bank Championship by one stroke to qualify for the PGA Tour after 16 years. And that's just an incredible story. The picture, which I'm sure our editor will add it in, is just, you feel for this guy. Like, you could tell how much of a journey he's been on. He's got tears in his eyes. He's probably watching. I'm assuming what happens, he's watching whoever's finishing behind to make sure that nobody catches him so he wins the tournament. And he's got tears in his eyes. He's holding his phone, hand on his head, like, couldn't believe it. He finally got there. And just to strive through all that, I think the time where we are in our country where there people are just fighting over everything, red state, blue state, vaccinated, unvaccinated, masked.
Bullshit.
No, I'm not trying to get political. I'm just
no, I get you.
In a time where we are in our family and our country, we need to try to get together and have these inspirational stories to remind ourselves there's more to human.
It's all about just being decent.
Human resistance. Exactly.
I was talking to my buddy today, and I said, if people would just forget all the political bullshit and just try to be decent human beings, we'd probably be better off.
Exactly. And I agree with that 100%.
And this guy getting onto the tour is phenomenal. I like golf to play. We go out and we play golf every so often, and I'm not the best at watching golf. Some people like to play baseball, don't like to watch it. Just too slow. For me, it's too quiet. Golf is too quiet. I like the roar of the crowd. I'm the Happy Gilmore of it all, right? Like, let's make some noise around here. I'm like that. So, I think it's great, man. Good for him. I think golf is a good game because you're never too old. Even when you are too old, you're not really too old. Like, I always felt like Tiger Woods was always at the top of his game because he was the youngest guy in a sea of 80-year-old men playing golf. He was 22. And this guy making the tour at 39 after striving and struggling for 16 years is a huge deal, and good for him. Congratulations to him, and hopefully wish him luck. He'll be my new dark horse.
Listen, it's an incredible story, and I'm happy for the guy. That's amazing, and the dedication to do that. But at what point are you like, a year before you get your PGA card? I'm 38. I got to work DoorDash. If I don't get my PGA card in the next year or two, and I didn't start a career yet, what am I doing?
Well,
that's me personally. That's I guess I'm very conservative in that way, where I got to have a plan for everything. And it's kind of like he went all or nothing. He's like, yeah, I'm going to live on the streets if this doesn't work out.
Well, that necessarily doesn't have to be true because look at Jimmy Morris. Jimmy Morris was 32 and he was a high school science teacher.
Right, but he had a career.
Quit.
He wasn't delivering DoorDash.
How many people were delivering DoorDash last year because they lost their jobs because of COVID?
That's a different situation completely. Jimmy Morris had a career.
What I'm saying is he may have had a career, right? But lost it because of COVID. They don't give you the full story because it's not as sweet as just DoorDash.
No, I understand. I absolutely. Listen, maybe the guy comes from money, but that's what I mean. It costs money for your caddy. It costs money to travel to all these things. And if you're playing through Q School or the Corn Ferry Tour, just trying to get your PGA card, you're not making money. Even when you win, you're not making good money. When you retire from your job, I will be your caddy for free. Shit, I don't need a caddy. I can throw my clubs myself.
I will go get a caddy license just so I can caddy for you.
Is that required?
I think it is. I think you have to be like what's
certified?
It called? No, like a union member. I think there's a caddies union.
Join the union.
A Teamster of some sort because they carry stuff.
If you don't get your card, Vinny comes out and breaks your legs.
I'm going to get a caddies union card, no show. A no-show union card.
Dude, for caddies. The first time ever this has happened, this year, me and my cousin Brian, shout out to Brian, we played one of the nicest courses, voted multiple times the #1 course in New Jersey, public course, Ballyowen, up in Crystal Springs Resort. And as we approached the first tee, a caddy in the full jumpsuit and everything was kind of like panhandling, like, hey, anybody need a caddy today? Couldn't believe it. I was waiting for him to wash the windows on the golf cart.
Poor guy.
Had the newspaper and the squeegee out. We felt bad because we were like, dude, we suck. So, like, you could tell us, I'll hit it that way, and it's still not going to happen. So, sorry, man.
Damn.
Unless you can make us better golfers, teach us
magically without any hard work or
right. Absolutely.
Bagger Vance, he could.
Bagger Vance was Jesus.
Yeah.
Bagger Vance might have been Jesus.
No, it was. It's a Christian book. It's based on the story of Jesus. It's based on the what would you call it?
The Green Mile. He's Jesus too. Just so you guys know.
Right.
I ruined that for you.
It's
the Green Mile. John Coffey is Jesus. That's why his initials are JC. And he takes away everybody's pain.
Jesus.
Say again?
In Narnia, the Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe, the lion's Jesus.
It could be.
He's a Jesus figure.
There's a lot of figures like that in religion where they die and come back to life.
Yeah. Bugs Bunny in Space Jam 2 is a Jesus figure.
Don't you dare bring up that movie. You don't do that. You got muted for that. Congratulations, you played yourself.
That's what he gets. That's what he gets. You throw a big L over his face, editor.
L for loser.
No, but yeah, in Bagger Vance, he's supposed to be Jesus guiding him, pretty much rescuing him from all the struggles of his life and telling him it's okay. You can get through it. He's the Robin Williams of the movie. It's okay. It's not your fault.
Not you, man. Don't do that, man.
Still, Legend of Bagger Vance, great movie. We're going to have to review that one.
I love that movie. But since we're on the talk of golf, I guess we might as well stay here with two stories. Is J.R. Smith going back to college, declared eligible to play, I think, North Carolina
A&T State University.
Yeah, State University. Declared eligible recently, even though he had an agent, because the new laws, the NIL laws that they changed, the NCAA would allow him to actually be eligible, even though he had an agent and played a pro sport. Obviously, he came straight from high school to join the NBA, so he never used any of his eligibility for the NCAA. So therefore, he actually played there for 4 full years. And I think it's got to be pretty funny if you walk into class and see J.R. Smith just high, hanging out, like having really tech classes.
I don't think that's a new rule, though.
What rule?
That you can go to college and play professional sport, or play sports in college if you played a professional sport.
No, if you have hired an agent, which obviously
I get that, but there's how many pro athletes don't have an agent?
Yeah, but we know J.R. Smith did.
Like I'll give you an example. Chris Wenke played like 6 years of minor league baseball. He had an agent because he got drafted out of high school. So he had an agent, but he still dropped out of minor league baseball to go play for Florida State at the ripe old age of like 28. So that's definitely not a new rule. They've been doing that for a minute.
Well, maybe he had to ask.
You just can't play in the sport that you played professionally in. Yeah.
Right. Well, he had to get declared eligibility, so there was something that came up that they wouldn't let him at first to play, and then
I think it was the fact that golf, no blacks and no women.
Oh, stop it!
Right.
It's a Family Guy joke. Come on.
I know it is, but
still terrible.
But I think that's a great story with J.R. Smith.
You know what? If he graduates and gets his degree, I clap it up for him. I hope he does. I really do.
Reminds me of Rodney Dangerfield back to school. Except he's a lot younger and cooler, but
dude, nobody's cooler than Rodney Dangerfield.
I do get me on that
especially since he's dead. He's probably really cold.
Dude, Rodney Dangerfield's a legend. Don't besmirch his name.
But I feel like and I've been saying this for a while because college players have been talking about getting paid for playing, which I think is ridiculous. They're getting a free education and they see zero value in that, and that's why they shouldn't get paid. But there should be a curriculum for athletes in college. There should be a curriculum like if you're a professional, if you're aspiring to be a professional football player, you should have to take finance 101, English 101, public speaking 101. Like that way you don't mismanage your money. You can do interviews competently and sound like you actually went to college. Like I remember watching Cortez Kennedy's NFL Hall of Fame speech and being like, this guy went to college? I don't understand a word he's saying. He can't even read his speech. He's going through it. And I don't mean to talk badly about Cortez Kennedy, but I'm sure he's a beautiful person, but like I'm listening to this man speak, and I was like, God, and he went to 4 years of college or 3 years of college.
It's also important for them too, because in case they get like in the movie The Program, but Alvin Mack, in case they get injured, they can't play in their career.
And to me, that's the biggest part. And that's the guys that pay attention in college have much better professional careers. They don't end up like the Maurice Clarett's of the world. You know what I mean? You don't hear about them having to rely on football beyond football. If you look at somebody like Curtis Martin or Darrelle Revis, ironically enough, they both went to Pittsburgh, and Pittsburgh must really focus on education, because I can think of 3 players off the top of my head that went to Pitt that are all doing super great. Curtis Martin, Darrelle Revis, and Larry Fitzgerald all went to Pitt, and none of them need football. Like, they don't need to go back and coach or do any of that crap because they finance their money appropriately. And I think I hope J.R. Smith gets his education and really maybe advocates for more NBA players going back and getting their education. And football players too, because there's a lot of guys that go and they do 3 years just to get to the pros and they don't ever get a degree. And I'm not saying you need a degree. If you're making your money, that's fine. But why start something not to finish it as if it's going to kill you? You know?
And why not take advantage of the free education that you're getting that everybody else is paying $200,000 for?
Exactly.
I mean, once you drop out for that 3rd year, you're not getting a free education. But at that point, you should be well-to-do enough that you don't need to worry about that anymore. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and then so sorry to cut you off there, Nick, but just
no, go ahead.
I don't want to get too straight away from the J.R. Smith story, but moving into other golf news as well, is PGA Tour, my guy, Tony Finau, after 1,975 days. He had to wait an extra day because of the cancellation on Sunday due to the hurricane coming in to the area. Finally wins a tournament after that curse of the Puerto Rico Open that he's had from years ago. He's always come close. He'll hit a playoff, kept losing them, and then finally had a playoff on almost at Sunday, I meant Monday. Cam Smith collapses in the playoff. The ball goes way out of bounds. Then he hits his 3rd shot, technically, into the trap, and then Tony's got an easy 3-putt, basically to win the tournament. And my guy Tony Finau, I'm clapping up, little golf clap for Tony Finau, finally get that second win on the tour. And talk about a celebration. Roots Chris to 11 p.m. goes back to the hotel, sleeps, wakes up at 3 a.m. and gets this gigantic McDonald's order of like Big Macs, quarter pounder, Oreo shake. So once again, give it up for Tony Finau, finally breaking that curse from the Puerto Rico Open.
Good for him. Ruth's Chris is always a good time, gentlemen. They've always treated us kindly and with the utmost respect and courtesy. So shout out to Ruth's Chris, who a great. I don't like to call it a chain.
They're a chain.
No, I like to call it a franchise.
Oh, yeah.
Chain sounds like McDonald's is a chain. You're not.
Exactly.
Applebee's is a fucking chain. Outback is a chain.
They're also franchises.
I got that, but I feel like franchise has a classier tone to it. Like Ruth's Chris and the Palm, those are franchises. Those aren't.
And Roots Chris does not cut off people who are drinking. We'd see that firsthand.
Yeah,
one of us in this room.
And, guilty
as charged.
Where's that at Old Homestead?
No, that was at Roots Chris. We had the secret room in the back. Not the secret.
He said he should. He
got cut off.
He's saying he should have been cut off.
I should have been cut off at Roots Chris.
Yeah. No, not Roots Chris. You should have been cut off at Old Homestead.
He should have been cut off at Funk Yellow.
Yeah, you didn't even know where you were.
All right, well, Roots Chris, I don't know what they do then.
I appreciate them treating Tony Finau with the same respect they treat us.
Exactly. Tony Finau and us have something in common. We love Roots Chris steaks.
Roots Chris is where you violently pointed your meat at another member of the table.
No, that's when I wasn't cut off because she kept giving me old fashions.
That's true.
So it was Roots Chris.
Yeah, but it was also Old Homestead.
All right, I guess I have a history of getting crazy at steakhouses.
Apparently. That's why our bill's always so much. It's not the steaks.
When he's playing the bass, his air bass.
The air bass. Stanton just went yard.
Yeah, you're a day late and a buck short on that one, pal.
Well, no, he's rounding the base. I saw it. We were talking about the Roots Chris.
Yeah, anyway, Aaron Boone got thrown out too.
Moving on. I saw that. That's why I know you were watching that while I was talking about
laughing.
Yeah.
I wonder if he told them my guys are fucking savages in the box.
Yeah. Hopefully they John Boy got that. And
you know what I'm noticing right now? I mean, I haven't seen them play. I mean, I don't recall the last time I watched the game in Oakland because it's 10 o'clock at night. They don't have rails on their dugouts. Mm-mm. It's really old fashioned over there. I mean, granted, their dugout is a cart ride away from the plate, but
it's very far.
Yeah, they don't have rails.
Well, since we're already talking about the MLB, let's move into that topic of the Major League Baseball with the hottest team in baseball, the New York Yankees. Going for 12 straight right now. And the wild card division races are starting to heat up. Wild card in the AL is pretty much tight right now between the A's, the Red Sox, the Yankees. They're all right there. Yankees are now trying to get into that first spot against the Rays. The Rays just keep winning as well, though, so it's tough for them to even gain any ground. They're still 4.5 back of the AL East. So I guess my question for you guys is what division are you looking forward to most right now? Now, some of them are a little. I think the West is close. The Centrals are, I think, both out of hand. Those are already set, and the East on both sides are probably pretty close as well. So, what are you guys looking forward to in the last month of the season coming up?
I just want to watch the laughable NL East.
Really
that like with those win-loss records, and it's like, why even play?
Oh, actually, I meant to put this in my notes. TJ, you were right. Well, so far, you were right. You said the Braves were going to come back and win this division. Currently, right now, I think they're up. Are they up 3 or 4 games, even more?
There are a few, yeah.
Over the Phillies and the Mets. I thought the Phillies were going to make a run at it, and they've kind of fallen off the.
Yep.
I think I said the Yankees wouldn't make the playoffs.
I think you did say the Yankees wouldn't make the playoffs, and they've gone on to have the best record in baseball since the All-Star break.
We'll see what happens.
Still a lot of baseball left.
Still a lot of baseball left. Absolutely. Yeah. But who am I looking for? I think the West, the NL West is so tight. I mean, not so tight that it's like, what I think is really interesting about the NL West. The Padres spent a lot of money to end up 15 games behind first place. Just saying, for a small market team to spend that much money. And I actually got into an argument with somebody about the Padres being a small market team. They said that they weren't a small market team. And I'm like, nobody in San Diego gives a shit about baseball. It's not that they're because they compared them to a different city. I can't remember what city it was, but I want to say like the city that they were talking about was literally, I think, or maybe they said that San Diego was a small market. And I was like, their population is larger. I was like, Miami and San Diego have larger populations than fucking Boston. So how is it Boston's a big market team, but San Diego and Miami are small market teams? I was like, listen, you know how you get fans? Win fucking ball games. That's how you get fans. That's that simple. Make sustainable winning, and you will have people in your seats every single game. If you can't win consistently, nobody gives a shit. Unless you're Tampa Bay, and then everybody that's there is a Yankee fan or a Red Sox fan, and nobody gives a shit about the Rays.
And Gary Sanchez said it best. He said, I like winning. We like winning. Winning is fun. So I think that works for all across the board, especially
Absolutely. But yeah, I'm interested to see how the Dodgers and Giants shake up. I'm not sure. Do they play each other again this year?
I don't have the schedule in front of me, but
because those series get violent where like Dodgers fans kill Giants fans.
They're playing right now because they played. Are they? Yeah, they played yesterday.
I wonder if
they had that 16-inning game. It's the longest game since the runner on second rule.
Since the ghost bullshit?
Yeah, it was almost a 6-hour game, 5 hours, 49 minutes. And they went 16 innings, and then they won 5-3. It was a 1-1 game into the 15th.
Jeez.
So that's a fun game. That game actually, because this to your point, Nick, I know you hate pitchers batting. That game is a reason why pitchers shouldn't bat. Because I think they had a few times to win the game, but the pitcher was up.
Chin Ming Wong is the reason that pitchers shouldn't bat.
Yeah.
David Cohn breaking his finger bunting. That's a reason that pitchers shouldn't bat. Yeah. Pitchers are more valuable on the mound than they are in the box. It is not fun to watch them bunt. It's not fun to watch them strike out. It's not fun. Like when they hit a home run twice a year, yeah, that's fun. But the other 200 at bats they strike out in, that's not remotely fun. Like
I don't know. There's always Bartolo Colon's at bats were always fun.
there's always that one guy that's like, oh, so-and-so can hit. Old Man River hit a home run. What's his 5th home run of the year? 6th, maybe?
We'll see.
But yeah, that you always get that, oh, what are you talking about? So-and-so can hit. The only pitcher that can hit is Shohei Ohtani.
Yeah, 6th of the year.
That's the only pitcher that can hit is Ohtani.
But that's
all the other ones.
He also plays the field, though.
They hit for pitchers. It's like saying that a catcher is fast. Is he? No, he's not. He's fast compared to all the other catchers that can't run and they jog gingerly. Like, come on now. Yeah, pitchers shouldn't bat. I'm tired of it. Even in college, you have to have a DH because they know pitchers can't hit either. I digress, though.
Yeah.
Moving on onto more baseball news.
Go ahead.
The Yankees have been hot as of the last 30 so games. They're 27 out of 30 at this moment. And in large part due to a few guys, some of whom were written off by other teams, and some of whom were written off by Yankee fans. I mean, guys like Giancarlo Stanton are carrying the squad right now. Tyler Wade is killing it right now. And even Old Man River, Brett Gardner, who still I don't think should be playing, even he's sitting there. And he just jacked a homer just now, his 6th of the season.
And good on Tyler Wade, because we usually rip him. We say not that good, but
Tyler Wade
playing really well.
He's batting like 260 now. I don't know how he did it. He must seriously not have not had any at bats prior to of recent time, because I don't know how his average jumped from 190 to 260 in 3 weeks. So he must have 0 at bats. Yeah. Although it seemed like he played every day.
Yeah, it seems like he played a lot, but he's obviously gotten hot in the last month where these unsung heroes, and one of them is, I think, my favorite guy is Andrew Velasquez, who I call Nick's cousin, but he's not.
I am not related to Andrew Velasquez at all.
He's the Bronx native. This is a great story. I think every time they show him, I think the story gets even better. He hits that home run on Sunday. They show his family in the stands. They're all crying. His dad's going nuts. And another reason why I respect him as well is that he's, similar to me. We're both sons of NYPD officers. His father was an NYPD detective, and he wears the NYPD shield around his neck. So shout out to Andrew.
Pretty sure that's illegal. That's impersonating an officer. Just
not the huge shield, the
mini shield.
Guy, come on.
That's cute.
It's cool. I appreciate it. I think it's cool to see a player show respect, one, to his family, his father, and then to the NYPD as well, because I feel like a lot of the last year, NYPD gets a bad rap. About the current landscape of our country, and I don't care what everyone's stance is on that, but when it comes to police officers, my dad was a cop. I respect them, and it's just cool seeing an athlete like that, wearing the shield like that while he's playing, and it's
always good to see somebody come from humble means.
Yep,
do great things.
And he still lives with his parents right now, so he's like taking like a train or riding a bike over to.
Minor league baseball is really not all that forgiving. You spend a good chunk of your life in hotels and or in some instances, and we could talk to Joe about that, where you talk about the Aviators living in some stranger's house, because there are some teams that do that, especially like independent league baseball. So I can imagine like he still lives at home because A, minor league players don't make all that much money. And B, you're on the road a lot. You may not live in the town. Like if you think about it, we talk about a lot of Yankees prospects like Jason Dominguez and Anthony Volpe, Oswald Peraza and things like that. But they move through the system quick sometimes. And you don't know when you're going to get called up or sent down. So really, where are you going to establish yourself to really have roots? So oftentimes, like we used to harass the Staten Island Yankee guys, and they used to, they lived in the hotel on Wild Avenue. At the Holiday Inn Express for the whole season. And that's what, 3-4 months. Mm-hmm. Then from there, they're going where? The Arizona Fall League, maybe not the Staten Island Yankee guys, but minor league players. They're going to Arizona Fall League. They're playing Dominican or Puerto Rican league baseballs. So like, where do you live?
They only got like, I want to say like maybe $50, $75 stipend for the day.
Yeah.
Even less, sometimes less than that, which is like, you can't even buy 3 meals for that much sometimes.
McDonald's alone will cost you $12. 5 guys will cost you 20.
And you can't really eat that stuff when you're trying to be a healthy athlete and stay in shape.
Yeah.
So it costs even more than that to try to eat like a decent meal for all 3 meals of the day.
Absolutely.
A cool story about that, though, you're saying that they don't spend a lot of time, was Juan Soto. I think he was like in single A, and they gave him a blow-up mattress, and they're like, "Don't you want like a real mattress? I'm gonna get you like something that you could actually, it's firm, you could sleep on." And he's like, "No, it's fine. I won't be here for long." And like a week later, he was called up to like AAA immediately.
Some people are lucky like that, man. Dave Winfield didn't spend one day in the minors. You know, I think he reported to the minors for a single day, and the next day went to Major League camp. Maybe. But yeah, some people are lucky like that. Good for him. But yeah, good for Andrew Velasquez. Good for the Yankees. Their pitching's been top notch. And T, why don't you analyze some of their pitching for us, having been a former pitcher yourself?
Oh God. Let's put it this way. It's nice to get wins when you're ahead in the game and you're not blowing a lead. And a couple of times it's been a little iffy, but they're getting the job done. And that's all you could want as a fan. And you know what? It's exciting. And the run they've been on is impressive. I wouldn't have guessed they would have went on a run like this at the first half of the season before the All-Star break because they didn't look that good. We were all sitting here wondering who they're going to pick up, and we're all screaming for pitchers. I know I was sitting there watching the Olympics wishing we had what's his name back from Japan?
Tanaka,
Tanaka, watching him dominate. It's like, okay, so we don't want to throw a couple $1 million at that guy to come back and help us out. But the pitching staff has definitely pulled through. And listen, when everything is clicking, you win ball games, and everything's clicking right now.
Yeah. Timely hitting matched with outstanding starting pitching from the most
Oh, yeah.
Like you wouldn't guess that Nestor Cortez Jr. is sitting here as our number 2.
And the only starter to not have gone down is Jameson Taillon, who has missed obviously a lot of time due to injury. But this year he's been healthy. Knocking on wood. I don't want to jinx him, but
yeah, Jameson Taillon has been huge for us. And I joke about Nestor Cortez Jr. being our number 2. He's actually our number 1. But if he's our number 1, Jameson Taillon is definitely number 3. Cole is a second to Nestor Cortez Jr. Actually, I'm going to say Nestor Cortez Jr. is number 2. His mustache is number 1. I think that we can all agree about that.
Yes, I love Nestor Cortez.
Nestor Cortez Jr.'s mustache is number 1. He's number 2. Cole is 3. Taillon is 4. Montgomery has had a hell of a year. I just want to point out, I've always thought it was appropriate that Montgomery was 47. Considering the last homegrown lefty that we actually threw out there that was anything solid was 46. And if you actually look at the season that Montgomery's having, it's very comparable to Andy Pettit's career. Like a high 3 ERA, solid. The only difference is that Pettit won like 20 games twice because he was on dominant Yankee teams of the late 90s.
Yeah.
I think 99 and 2000 or 98, 99, he won 20 games.
And Montgomery's dealing with a lot of injuries last year. Well, I think last year he didn't pitch at all.
No.
Before 2019, I think he was hurt. And then and hurt again this year.
I think he had TJ.
He had Tommy John, that's why. All right, so moving on from the MLB to the NFL. So we have preseason. Jameson Winston, because we're talking about Jameson Taillon. Jameis Winston has been named the starter there in New Orleans. Good for him. I think it's definitely the right move over Taysom Hill. Trevor Lawrence is finally officially eating that W. Trevor Lawrence officially is QB1 for the Jacksonville Jaguars. So,
oh yeah, what a battle!
I'm wearing my Minshew jersey.
Who the fuck wears a jersey of a backup?
This is because I bought it when he was a starter.
He was never the starter. He was like we're gonna resolve to play this guy because that's all we got.
Well, that guy has a funny mustache and hair. Let's put him in.
He looks like a young version of fucking Tiger King.
He looks like someone who would live in Jacksonville. So let's play him.
Listen, I definitely saw Gardner Minshew at a Circle K a couple times while I was down there.
Panhandling?
Definitely. Just getting there with a big gulp.
So Trevor Lawrence, we would compare him to.
Wait, can Gardner Minshew throw a football over those mountains over there?
He looks like Rico, Uncle Rico. Comparing Trevor Lawrence to Zach Wilson a lot because they're like, we're all you guys are Jet fans. I follow the Jags, like the Jags, and we kind of compare them both. So I think preseason, I think Zach Wilson actually has looked a lot better than Trevor Lawrence. I will give him credit on that. Trevor Lawrence kind of struggled. The offensive line for the Jags isn't that great right now. I don't know how they're going to fix that issue coming to the regular season, but hopefully they get their shit together, because otherwise Trevor Lawrence may be going the same way as Joe Burrow did last year. But, you guys watch these Jet games probably more than I do. So what are you guys feeling about the Jets prospects? I know they have a bit of the injury bug going through their team, but with Zach Wilson, I mean, what are your expectations right now for the season?
Listen, just from an outside looking in, if you just caught a little bit of a Jets preseason game, they look like a football team that knows what they're doing right now. And that's been missing for quite a while. They're well put together. Yeah, right. They're well put together. They're running plays like a professional football team. The defense is running on all cylinders. The offense is looking pretty damn good. And like you said, Wilson at the helm doesn't look scared, doesn't look jittery, standing there and throwing the ball downfield. I mean, what more could you want? It's preseason. We know that. And when you get to the regular season games, we'll find out what's what. But as a Jet fan who is a long-suffering Jet fan like Nick, I mean, they're a solid football team in preseason. And I'm happy going into the season with what I can see on the field. The product they put out there, like you said, the injury bug sucks. I mean, it's just one hit after the other. But it's football. It happens. What are you going to do? But right now, I'm actually excited for the season, and I think they're going to have a pretty decent year.
I was extremely hurt about Carl Lawson. I can't even say it. It hurt so much. You're 3 seconds late. I saw that 3 seconds ago. And I'm really hurt about Carl Lawson. You guys saw my reaction on Twitter. You know what it is as a Jet fan, you all you want is a morsel of something positive to feel good about, especially over the last 2 years, 3 years. It's been so hard, with, I don't say his name because I want to forget that he existed, but that our previous coach was so awful and everything about him was so bad that you just want something to feel good about, and Carl Lawson brought that, because we haven't had an edge rusher since John Abraham, really. And I'm not trying to take away from Calvin Pace. He was very good for us for quite a few years, but he wasn't that hand in the ground, every down threat that John Abraham was, or Carl Lawson currently is. And losing Carl Lawson hurt so much last week. Winning that preseason game or better yet, I won't say winning it, seeing Zach Wilson so successful on Saturday immediately kind of made it still hurts that Carl Lawson's down, but the sting isn't nearly as bad as it was. And I think if you look at the Jets schedule, I don't think it's out of the realm of possibility for them to win somewhere between 5 and 7 games, or 5 and 9 games even. All they really need is for somebody to have a bad game. If they can make a trade right now or pick up a free agent for a defensive lineman, because we're starting to go thin at the defensive lineman, and the offensive interior line is getting more thin than my freaking hairline. And, if they can solidify those positions with the cuts that are bound to happen over the course of the next 15 days, I'd feel a lot better about what's going on. I don't put it past Joe Douglas. I will say that his free agent signings aren't the best. His drafts are probably better than his free agent signings. And that's not to say much.
With football, I mean,
it's hard to say with injuries.
How great do you get with free agent signings in football?
Yeah, you don't really know, especially with the injuries. It just kind of happens. This week alone, Mekhi Becton went down yesterday with a concussion, and they're saying he'll be ready for game 1, which I hope he is.
Right.
But tomorrow, I'm not. If it was me, I don't think it's so important that Zach Wilson plays tomorrow.
No, I agree.
I wouldn't, just because Mekhi Becton's not playing.
Right.
I wouldn't play Zach Wilson at all. Not to say I don't have confidence in the other guys' backups, but it's the last preseason game. You're playing against a lot of backups, that people that are roster bubble people that have something to prove. Do you want to risk hurting your rookie quarterback because some guy who's the 5th defensive lineman or linebacker is trying to put a name out there for himself and he cracks him real hard unnecessarily? You know what I mean?
No, I agree.
Especially when you don't have your starting left tackle out there, especially when Vera Tucker is just getting back into the game. I honestly don't see too much. I don't think the risk outweighs the reward. But speaking of risk and reward, did you guys happen to catch what Wilson said? I think it was today actually, or yesterday rather, about performance, about how he feels about how he's been playing, about what it means, like taking risks, protecting the football. You guys catch that?
Why don't you tell us, Nick?
Fucking brilliant. In a nutshell, he basically said like, hey, listen, my job number one is obviously to protect the football and not take unnecessary risks. But if you're not risking it, then you're not having any explosive plays either. You just got to find the right balance where you're doing both. And ironically enough, a Giants fan wrote an article saying that Daniel Jones doesn't have that. That either he's just going to the script, which is horribly written by Jason Garrett, offensive coordinator Garrett, or he's not a coach, he's a coordinator. Is his name offensive coach Garrett? No, it's offensive coordinator. Therefore,
he wants to be called coach.
So that's fine. He ain't my fucking coach.
Yeah, he also wants to still be running the Dallas Cowboys. Not gonna happen.
I want to be banging Minka Kelly. That shit ain't happening either.
Could.
But I don't want to go where Thad's been.
Or Jeets has been.
Fuck him. Whatever. Anyway.
That's what she did.
Moving beyond Minka Kelly. But
we threw you off track.
Daniel Jones, they were saying like either he doesn't want to go against Joe Judge, he doesn't want to go against Jason Garrett, or he's totally comfortable with just dinking and dunking and not really throwing anything out there because he has no confidence to do it. And I was like, wow,
I agree with that.
That's a hell of a way to look at things. And I got into a bit of an argument with a Sam Darnold apologist. Now, I don't think Sam Darnold's a bad guy. I think that he who shall not coach kind of ruined him a little bit. But
Voldemort?
Say again?
Voldemort.
Yeah, that's pretty much him. He said something along the lines of, Sam always said the right thing too. I was like, Sam always said the right thing without really saying anything. Like Zach Wilson's like, yeah, I'm going to have bad days. It's because I'm trying some stuff. And he justifies what he's doing. Like he doesn't sit there and apologize for it or say, oh, I need to play better. He just sits there and goes, listen, I'm at practice. I'm trying some stuff. He explains himself like, hey, listen, you look at it like X's and O's. I'm telling you, we throw some Q's in that motherfucker every so often just to try it out. Throw a question mark up there just to see if it works.
Yeah. So let me ask you guys then. So right now with your expectations, I'll give the three teams we really follow is Jags, Jets, and Giants. Giants over-under is at 7, Jags is at 6-5, and the Jets are at 6. So if you guys were to take over-under on that amount of wins for the season, where do you see your team, Jets? Are they over-under? And you already said 5-7, Nick, so you kind of got to flip a coin there and decide whether or not you.
I'm gonna say over. 6 or over.
Yeah, I agree.
I honestly think they're gonna come out with 7.
I mean, obviously you could push there at 6 too. So
I think they're gonna come out at 7. Honestly,
think so.
I'm looking at the schedule. There are some games that they should win because the other teams, the Bengals are terrible. They should beat the Bengals.
I honestly think right now, I think I read it. The Jags are projected to be 6-11. I'm trying to do the numbers now because of the new 17 game schedule, but they're scheduled to be. I mean, they're projected to be 6-11, and I just don't see the offensive line or that defense really clicking. Even if with Urban Meyer, and even with Trevor Lawrence, honestly, would take the under on the Jags on 6.5. The Giants 7. I don't know. They won 6 last year. They probably could have won 7.
I'm going under.
The
dysfunction coming out of camp. I mean, it's nobody seems to want to be there.
No, I know the players. Saquon's not really sure if he's going to start in week 1.
Right.
Not that it affects you because you're trying to get 7 wins, but I don't know. The Giants, I don't feel confident with them either. I do like Joe Judge. I think he's a good coach, but I just don't think they're going to have the stuff. Their offense improved, but the problem is their quarterback. He has not improved, and he's the same quarterback. If he continues to fumble the ball and throw the picks, he's gone after this year. This is a make or break year for Daniel Jones, and he needs to do something. And like you said, if he's not risking it, he's not staying here with New York Giants. I'm sorry. He's going to be gone after this year. If they have another 6-11 or 7-10 year, he's going to be gone. They're going to have to be drafting a new quarterback.
You say their offense has improved, right? And that's true. They've gotten a ton of skill players.
With skill players,
but everybody knows that the battles are won in the trenches. I mean,
offensive line hasn't.
You're going to see it, and that's going to be the downfall of the Jags too. Is they have no offensive line. Now, I'm not saying the Jets have a great offensive line, but at least they've tried to do something to make it better. And drafting guys like Vera Tucker, drafting guys like Becton, That's a huge improvement. Signing a guy like Moses Morgan, or Morgan Moses. I can't remember if it's one way or another. I know that much. I can't recall right now, but they're doing something. You can't just sit there and just be like, well, this is what we're going with. Our scheme is going to help us block better. It doesn't work that way. It really doesn't. You can try to tailor your scheme to your players, and that's fine. That if your players don't work a certain way, but if you have two players that do pass protect on opposite sides on the line, and one's an interior and one's a tackle, like that, how's that going to help you? It's really not going to do much for you. And I'll say this. I think, having, watched football as long as I have and seen it, I think the mark of a good offensive line is a very strong and competent center. And neither the Jets, Jags, nor Giants have that. Because I don't dislike is his name, I keep forgetting if it's Connor McDermott, or there's two dudes on the Jets that have very similar names, and I always confuse the two. One's a tackle, one's a center. One's Connor McDermott, and the other one's Connor McGovern.
Yes.
I can't remember which one is which.
McDermott's the tackle.
There it is. All right. It's like fucking Dermot Mulroney and the other Dermot.
His last name.
His last name's Dermot. Yeah.
Dylan McDermott and
Dylan McDermott or Dermot Mulroney. I don't fucking know. But one of them is somebody. I know that much.
Yeah.
But point being is
Dick Sargent.
Dick York. Sergeant
York.
Hey, that's weird. But I think you have to have a strong center. The Jets had a very decent offensive line when they had Nick Mangold holding down the middle. If you have a strong left tackle and a strong center, you're far better off than everybody else in the league. And if you look at a lot of the Super Bowl winners, they have a strong left tackle and they have a strong center. And I think if I'm the Jets, I'm the Jags, I'm the Giants next year, I'm looking for a strong center. I mean, I don't know who's coming out. And I think that's the biggest problem is in college, there haven't been too many strong centers coming out lately. That's the biggest problem. On
your point on offensive line, you remember during the draft, we spoke about this, was that the Bengals should have went with Penei Sewell. Is that Sewell?
Soul.
Is that how I pronounce it? Yeah. But it said they drafted, am I saying this right? Jamar Chase.
Yes.
Wasn't sure if that was going to be
Jamar.
Yeah. Jamar, Aaron. So they went with Jamar Chase, and Jamar Chase is having a horrible preseason. He's dropping everything. He's getting open, but he's just dropping everything.
So is Penei Sewell.
Well, he's an offensive. Is he having bad? He's having bad.
He's playing. So he's not playing left tackle. He's playing right tackle.
Oh, so he's not really.
So he wasn't. So I can't recall who drafted him, but apparently he wasn't good enough to play the position at the highest level, because left tackles are more vital than right tackles, because you're protecting your quarterback's blind side, unless your quarterback is, of course, left-handed. And forgive me if whatever team he's on, the quarterback is left-handed.
No, he's in Detroit. He's with Jared Goff.
Is Goff left-handed?
No, he's a right.
Yeah, so he's not even playing left tackle. Mind you, I'm pretty sure Penei Sewell didn't play last year.
Oh, he didn't.
So that's also something to take into consideration.
Yeah.
Not only are you going from playing in the Pac-12, to going to the NFL, but now you haven't played football in a year.
Yeah, I get that. I didn't realize that was all against him, but I just feel like he was the highest. I think at that point, he was the highest ranked offensive lineman, which would have been good for Joe Burrow. So I guess going with Jamar Chase, they kind of knew what they were doing, but I just feel like Joe Burrow's got the same issue as well.
Well, we always got to take it into consideration that drafts are done with potential, not done with actual productivity. Just like contracts. Contracts aren't written for what you've done. They're written for what you hope to do. Mm-hmm. That's why your contract after 32 will never be better than your contract at 28. Mm-hmm. So, he had a lot of potential coming into the draft, but I mean, potential and $1.50 will get you a cup of coffee.
Yeah.
Nothing, as Sonny says, not worse in life than wasted potential. Or wasted talent, rather. Not worse in life than wasted
talent. Before we move on, you got any more NFL points you want to bring up or anything?
Yeah. So last week earlier this week was the anniversary of Andrew Luck.
I believe I asked TJ.
Oh, I'm sorry. My bad. I didn't hear that.
No.
Go ahead, Nick.
Defer to you, Nick.
I hear what you want to say. But that being said, so Andrew Luck retired from the NFL a year ago. I think it was Tuesday or Monday.
Wasn't it 2 years ago?
Was it 2 years ago?
I think it was 2 years ago.
That sounds right. Why not 2 years?
They
Yes,
were-
because I lost all last year because I was in the Middle East.
And I remember the fans were booing him,
They were booing him,
and there were
So-
no fans in preseason last year.
Well,
I
this-
think it wasn't even preseason last year.
No,
There wasn't. It
um,
was the COVID.
what I think of the most is, you talk about Andrew Luck retiring and Trevor Lawrence coming out of college, and he is the current generational talent. And if you remember, right, Andrew Luck was the generational talent, the last generational talent, right? Last 10 years ago, it was Andrew Luck. 10 years before that, it was Peyton Manning. And I can't think of one more generational talent than Andrew Luck, who is more inconsequential in the annals of football history. For a guy who's a generational talent, he retired from the NFL. And does anybody other than the Colts fans really give a shit? I'm not saying he was a bad player. It's just that did he really add anything to the sport?
He was in the Deflategate game, the AFC Championship.
So he lost.
And he lost it, yeah.
But other than that, like, did he really add anything to football other than inside Indianapolis? Which, okay, I mean, obviously Peyton Manning was good enough to add something to Indy, but Andrew Luck, for being a generational talent, really didn't change the game of football by any stretch of the imagination. There was nothing really exciting about the way he played football or what he brought to the game. So for being a generational talent, it really didn't mean dick to the game.
I feel like they really didn't build around him either.
Which just, and we talked about this. What was it? 2 weeks ago, we talked about this about who would have the best career.
Yeah.
Or who would have the most successful career.
Yes.
I mean, Trevor Lawrence. Trevor Lawrence can have a very individually successful career like Andrew Luck did. But being a generational talent really means absolutely nothing when your team is shit.
Championships. Yeah, and if you don't win championships either.
I don't think you have to win championships. I don't, because look at Dan Marino.
That's true.
But Dan Marino and Andrew Luck will never be spoken in the same sentence.
No.
Yeah, but that's two different players completely.
Well, Dan Marino brought something to the game.
Right.
Like, he was hands down the best quarterback of his generation. I mean, you might want to argue about Joe Montana or Steve Young. Okay, that kind of spans two generations there. But Andrew Luck's not in the conversation for best quarterback of his generation.
No.
He's not. He's number 5. He's number 5.
He was a solid top 10 quarterback in the league.
Absolutely. He might have even been a solid top 5 quarterback. But if he was a solid top 5, he was always number 5.
Right.
The top 4 might have switched back and forth a few times. But and then, again, that just shows you that the NFL draft is based on potential, not on productivity. And being a generational talent in the NFL draft really doesn't mean dick. And nothing is guaranteed. And I just thought it was really interesting that as much as Andrew Luck was touted as the greatest talent in the history of college football, he came to the NFL and really didn't change any of our lives the way a generational talent should. Same thing with Reggie Bush, right? Reggie Bush was supposed to be the next Gale Sayers. If he never played football, I really wouldn't give a shit.
And the thing too, Andrew Luck was, everyone was like, they went from Peyton Manning to Andrew Luck. They're going to be, winning more championships.
Yep.
It may never happen. And then he got obviously all the injuries, and then he retires young.
Which is good for him. I'm not mad at him for taking care of himself. It's better than these guys that kill themselves or their families because they can't remember their names.
Yeah, it's respectable that he did it early and young. I mean, he got booed during that.
They're just salty. They're fans. I mean, fans are always going to be
stupid. Fans would have booed him anywhere you would have went, not just Indianapolis, they were anywhere, anything. Well, I think that's about it.
Well, I was just say.
Oh, you have one more?
Before, yeah. I'm really looking forward to how this Nick Foles thing plays out with him potentially going back to the Eagles, because the fucking Eagles are stupid. And I love it. The guy wins you a Super Bowl and you go with Carson Wentz. And then you're sitting there scratching your head, looking at how Nick Foles played, and they move him. And then Carson Wentz has the career he had with the Eagles, and the injury bug hasn't ended since he moved on. And now you're going to get Nick Foles possibly back, and the Bears just waiting for somebody to please take this overpriced third stringer off our hands,
so that we don't have to cut him.
Yeah. Right. Essentially.
Yeah. Either the Eagles or the Colts.
Yeah. I just think it's hilarious. Like, how bad can you mess that up? The guy wins you a Super Bowl, and you just, your old news buddy.
Yeah.
What goes around comes around.
I'm hoping he gets cut and the Jets pick him up.
Dude, I'm hoping the freaking Eagles make him an offer and he goes, I'd rather sit out. I hope they pick him up. They trade for him and he's like, nah, I'm good.
I'm gonna retire.
I won in this shit town.
Yeah.
The cheesesteaks aren't that great. I'm out.
Ooh, hey. All right. Well, that was a good way to end our NFL segment.
Yeah.
We went on to the NBA real quick. So I like this story.
Oh God.
No, wait.
NBA. We're done with the NBA.
No, I know it's off season, but I'm only mentioning this because it's a law issue. And you know me, TJ.
He's a lawyer.
I'm a lawyer. So Nerlens Noel is suing Rich Paul, who's like the super agent, NBA super agent. Rich Paul, who's like boys with LeBron. He meets Nerlens Noel at at Ben Simmons' birthday bash. They hit it off. He hires Rich Paul to be his agent. So Nerlens Noel is now suing Rich Paul for $58 million in expected, I guess, a loss of salary, basically, because at one point I think he just finished a season with the Mavs, and they offered him a 4-year extension for $70 million. And Rich Paul said to him, no, you're a $100 million player. Shut that down. I'm going to get you a bigger deal, basically. So he says, all right, no problem. He takes a cheap deal, 1-year deal with the Mavericks. He gets hurt. Obviously does not get paid anywhere close to $100 million since he's now with the Knicks. He signed I think it's like a 40-year deal with it for a 3-year deal with the Knicks. And so at first I'm reading this, I'm like, this is just bad advice. Like when you give your advice to your client, they can either take it or they could go the other way with it. So bad advice typically is just like, it's not really the worst thing in the world that happens. But what it gets worse is that during this time, Rich Paul was receiving phone calls from the 76ers and from other teams in the around the NBA saying that they wanted to sign Nerlens Noel for more money than what I think he's got like a $4 million contract with the Mavs after his injury, or with the Thunder, or some really low number. So now you're at the point where he's breaching fiduciary duty, which is which you would owe to your client, is if someone calls you and gives you an offer, even if it's the worst offer in the world, you have to pass that on to the client. So that's where I think where Nerlens Noel actually might have a case here. Because at first I read it, I was like, you just took shit advice. Like you can't really blame your agent that. Like he thought potentially this is what you're worth.
Especially if he gives you Italian advice. You know how Italian advice goes, right?
Yeah, let me hear it.
You don't know Italian advice?
No. Well,
go ahead. Ask me a question. I'll give you Italian advice.
All right. Should I take the $70 million deal from the Mavericks for 3 years?
Well, listen, you could take the advice you could take the $70 million from the Mavs, or we could hold out for a better deal. What the fuck do I know? That's Italian advice, right? But what the fuck do I know?
Advice. Yeah, what do I know? And it's to the point where I think he might actually have a case here after reading it more in depth. But at first you look at it like bad advice is bad advice. It happens. They don't have the same, I guess, an agent doesn't have the same level as a lawyer. A lot of these guys, I don't know if Rich Paul went to law school or not. I'm sure he did. But,
Jerry Maguire went to law school, and he would have gotten him the best deal possible.
He did. So did Drew Rosenhaus. And who's the other big guy on the MLB?
I try not to remember his name.
Oh, Scott Boras. Boras too. Like, they're all attorneys.
You know who else is an attorney? Ed Hockley, the referee.
He is it. Yeah, we send him. Me and my friends, we always send him a Christmas card every year because he's the man. And we send it to his law firm because it's it's public record. He's an attorney. So we look it up. I think it's like in Arizona. So we said, Ed Hockley, shout out, bro. You've been getting those Christmas cards at least 10 years now.
Shout out to Ed Hockley.
So yeah,
that's counselor.
Story. I think he has a pretty good legitimate case against it because of the lack of him pursuing those offers. It could be the worst offer in the world, but you got to present it to your client. If someone offers my client $10 to settle a case, I know he's going to say no, but I have to hear it from him, give him that choice. So even if it was a shit deal from the 76ers, he needed to present that to him. And I think he did potentially probably lost out money and had to signing with the Thunder. And then also not even that, when he signed with the Thunder, the deal wasn't with Rich Paul. It was a deal he virtually Nerlens Noel came up with because he had spoke with Russ Westbrook and with Paul George, and they try to recruit him to the Thunder. So that's basically where that's at. With that.
So here's my question for you, Rook. From a legal aspect, can he sue for damages?
Well, that's what he's suing for. He's suing for potential damages of what
because I would say like
potentially could have lost.
Let's say I'm a professional athlete, right? My dream is to play for the Yankees, but they're giving me a shit deal, so my agent doesn't pass that on to me. Not only did I lose money because I went someplace that potentially ruins my career, but also like emotionally, I wanted to play for the fucking Yankees my whole life.
Yeah,
like that would have meant more to me than any dollar amount.
Yeah,
so can you do that?
Like emotional distress type of like emotion. So emotional damages, no, because it's I would think it's more of potential of what you could have actually earned. Whereas I can't put a number on your emotions not pay for not to play with the Yankees.
But people do that shit all the time.
People do, but it doesn't mean they win. You could wait.
What if I have PTSD and I'm waking up in the middle of the night going,
there's a difference. There's a difference between your family suing because you hung yourself because you didn't play for the Yankees.
Yeah.
And they said that's why, versus you saying I'm pissed off about it.
No, I'm having nightmares.
And also, so Nick, I misspoke when I said it. Can you sue for it? Yeah, because you would sue for anything in the United States.
Damn right you can.
Will you win? Probably not.
Fuck.
There's no way for us to calculate how much it is actually worth. So that was Rook's lawyer corner.
There you go.
Legal talk. I was actually happy. Happy. New segment. Yeah, I was actually happy that came up because I feel like I could add that to this podcast now that we have any other legal issues that come up. Let's throw it in now.
Yeah. Is that what we're doing in our expertise? This is recycling. It's also worth 5 cents.
But yeah, so that's the story known as Noel, Sue and Rich Paul. So anyone had any questions, just hit me up in my DMs.
Slide in them DMs.
I hope some poor bastard is watching this and it just abuses your DMs about something ridiculous.
Bar certified in New York and New Jersey.
Hey man, you said hit you up. I'm telling you.
So awesome.
This chick is telling me I'm the dad, but I pulled out way early on that one. I want to sue her.
She came to my house, said, "This is your kid. He looks just like you. Look, he has your hat."
All right. Well, our last topic here, because I think we're running a little long here now.
Yeah, a little bit.
NCAA. Won't go too much into this, but college football is back. Starts September 1st. Are you guys excited for this? Not excited? Nick, you're a big SFU guy, so I'm sure.
I'm also an FSU guy.
What did I say?
SFU.
Oh God, I messed that up. SU.
So I always like college football because I don't know, man. I always wanted to go to Florida State. I'm just poor, so I couldn't. So out of state schools like $40,000 a semester. And who the fuck needs to pay? I don't know what's 40,000 times 8. 48,000. I don't know. What is it? $32,000 or $320,000 for a bachelor's degree.
Yeah, it's a lot of money.
But I really wanted to go to FSU because they had a circus intramural. They're one of 2 colleges that have an intramural circus. So you can literally run away from home to the circus and get a college education.
And mountains of debt.
But no, I love college football. I'm a big Knowles fan. Go Knowles for the spear. I like our new coach because our Willie Taggart sucked. He was so bad. I hate that guy. Ruined my college football life. I'm looking forward. We signed a few big recruits, 4 and 5 star recruits. I think the biggest concern this upcoming college football season is there's been a lot of chatter about people leaving their current conference to go to the SEC. Now, this happens all the time, and it's happened for years. Once upon a time, the Big Ten was a big conference. In the early 2000s, the Pac-10 was a gigantic conference where they were winning a lot of national championships. In the 90s, the Big East was winning a lot of national championships because Miami was in the Big East. Florida, if I remember right, was in the Big East at one point. And then in basketball too, Syracuse was in the Big East, and they were there. St. John's was in the Big East. So there was a lot going on, and people change conferences all the time. But it's getting to the point where everybody seems to be going to the SEC. And I kind of want to sit here and go, the NCAA needs to get rid of all the conferences and make everything regional, because it's getting ridiculous when you have teams from the West Coast joining the SEC The ACC is going to be if Miami and Florida State leave the ACC to go to the SEC, there literally is no reason to watch ACC football anymore.
And
you're
Clemson,
I'm sorry, it wasn't Miami. It was Clemson and Florida State inquired about joining the
SEC. The only teams that are going to is Texas and Oklahoma, but that's not for a couple of years.
Right.
Clemson and I think, what'd you say? FSU.
Clemson and FSU.
Yeah, FSU. Am I saying it right? I know.
FSU, Florida State. Just say Florida State.
Let me say Florida State. Florida State and Clemson wanted to join the SEC, which would make it a super conference, basically. And I think what's happening now is all because his name, image, likeness rules have been lifted from the NCAA, is that where can you get the most money for these players now? And that's the SEC. It's the best conference in college football. It's not
the Big 12, clearly.
It's only the best for the moment because this happens all the time. Because for being the best, Clemson's been beating their asses for the last 4 years.
That's true.
You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. For being the best, Ohio State, Clemson, and Florida State have done pretty well for themselves over the course of the last 10 years, and none of them are in the SEC. And SEC apologists will sit there and say, that's because LSU and Alabama beat each other up. Blah, 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 blah. Who's got the most NFL players?
Yeah.
Nobody gives a shit. All right. We're not talking about the NFL. All right. Because if you really want to talk about it, Florida State is DBU. If you're a Florida State defensive back, you're going to be a star in the NFL. There's a lot of corners and safeties in the NFL that went to Florida State. You know, I'm not sitting here going to play that game, you know, because what does it mean? Because they haven't won in the last 5-6 years since Jimbo Fisher left. Or since the year after Jimbo left, you know? But honestly, if it's going to get to the point where everybody wants to be in the SEC, then they need to get rid of all the conferences. It's just keep the normal rivalries. You don't need conferences that have teams just to have them. Honestly.
And they have the 3-conference alliance that's coming through, the Pac-12, the Big Ten, and I think it was the ACC, where they're going to become one big entity. Between them, I think I put it in my notes. I can't remember.
But I think the biggest thing for me with that whole conference bullshit is, I never agreed with teams being independent. Like Notre Dame was independent for the longest time. I think they joined the ACC.
For basketball only.
Say again?
I think it was only for every sport but football. So they're still independent in football.
No, I don't think they're independent in football.
Not anymore.
Not for 2 years, which is good because they shouldn't be independent. I always thought it was ridiculous that they just played I always thought it was ridiculous that they played against everybody. They never had to win a championship to be considered a top 5 team because they were never in a conference to win a championship.
Yeah.
And I just thought that was ridiculous, especially because they're a shit school. They haven't been good since Rudy played there.
Yeah. There was a time that I think they had, they would be independent in football, but they had to play the ACC teams because they'd be in the ACC for basketball. I remember that was it. So I don't know if that's still the case, but I think they might be involved with the ACC because they're involved in the alliance deal that's going on with the ACC, the Pac-12, and the Big Ten, and that's for all sports. That's not just for football. That's all for every sport. This big alliance they're creating, which I guess I was reading it. I don't get it, but it's supposed to really benefit these 3 conferences to join one huge alliance. And I don't know. It's called an alliance, not like them joining conferences and merging the 3 into 1, but it's an alliance, which I don't know.
So what's gonna happen essentially, if I'm remembering right, is they're basically gonna organize games across as opposed to having those. So generally speaking, you have conference games where you play your in-conference teams, and they're decided by your conference, and then you pick scrub teams to play against, cupcake teams to play against, so that you can get reps in, right? You open the season against some scrub ass team, so that you can get your confidence going and whatever. And the scrub ass team will play you to get some money off a TV deal. They're going to stop doing that. They're going to stop those independent games where Florida State can play Texas A&M for no reason, and now they'll play against the Pac-12 teams, UCLA or whatever it is, or USC or whatever it is. And honestly, I don't ever recall Florida State really playing against the West Coast too much. That's kind of cool. I honestly can't think of the last time Florida State played against a West Coast team. I think they played against Oregon in the playoffs.
Well, how cool would it be to see Florida State versus Ohio State? I think that'd be a fun game, regular season game. There'd be a lot of.
I don't think so. You know what it is?
Fan bases.
So generally speaking, they don't play those games because if either one of those teams loses that game, they're out of national championship contention.
Yeah, but you need those games to win because boost your ability to win a national championship.
Not if you're already in the top 4.
Yes, that's true. But sometimes,
especially with the college football playoffs.
But I've seen before teams, they lose that game and they still make the championship, or they make
absolutely.
So,
but if they got rid of all this conference bullshit and they made it regional, I think the college football playoffs could be deeper and more competitive.
You're saying to put more teams and then make it regional college football?
Yeah, as opposed to the conferences, because now it's going to get to the point where everybody's in the SEC. You might have 2 teams from the SEC make the college football playoffs, and that's it.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas there might be more than 2 good teams in the SEC. There might be 4 good teams in the SEC, but it's so fucking big and everybody's in it. It's like, all right, you know what I mean? Like,
yeah, they're going to have to expand.
Imagine a conference that has Ohio State, Michigan, Texas, USC, LSU, Alabama, Florida State, and Clemson. Who's winning the national championship?
Yeah.
Why should anybody else even play?
Yeah. No, there's no point. I get it. I like that idea. Well, I know we're running a little long here, so I don't want to keep this going. I know, TJ, do you have anything else you want to add before we head out? Because you've been quiet for this.
I'm just looking for. I don't have an NCAA team.
So you don't care.
I just bet.
You're welcome to join me on the Florida State bandwagon. They ain't changing their name no matter who it offends.
Yeah.
I appreciate it.
Let's go Knowles.
Yeah.
Fear the spear.
I appreciate it.
The Buckeyes.
That's the stupidest name ever. It's a fucking nut. They might as well call themselves the walnuts or the chestnuts.
We won the first college playoff ever, so.
I feel like if I'm going to pick a team, I have to pick a shit team. So I'm not a bandwagon guy.
Army.
I would never call them a shit team.
Army is a great fucking game. If you want to go, we can go.
Yeah.
That's a good time, dude. That's a good time.
That'd be fun.
All the cadets dress up in like there's one section of cadets that dress up like polar bears.
Oh, really? That's fun.
Yeah. Like whatever house they live in, it's like Harry Potter. Whatever like dorm they live in, they dress up like in costumes.
That's pretty
like cool. The whole section.
That's dope.
If you guys want to go up to the Point and go watch a West Point game, we can go do that.
Absolutely.
Cool.
West Point's beautiful too. In the fall, you can watch the leaves change.
Nice. Could be possible. Good content too. All right, Nick.
Last thing before we sign off, our condolences to Jimmy Hayes and Rod Gilbert passing away.
Rest in peace.
Rest in peace,
and
Mr.
Jimmy
Ranger.
Hayes, man, way too young. Jimmy Hayes.
Yeah.
Horrible story.
Yeah,
that was my heart.
I have actually something personal to add with Rod Gilbert. When my mother was going through her treatment up at Sloan, Rod Gilbert was there, and my father, being the diehard Ranger fan that he is, and obviously knows who Rod Gilbert is, went up to him and just to say hi, like, hey, Mr. Gilbert, I don't mean to bother you or anything like that. And he sat there and talked to my father for an hour about hockey and about the Rangers and everything that was going on. And then went and talked to my mother and said, hey, keep fighting. You get through this, one of the best hospitals for cancer treatment, all that stuff. And like a classy guy, like through and through, just pure class, and Mr. Ranger all the way. I mean, representing New York and the Rangers and what they stand for 100%. And, rest in peace, Rod Gilbert, because the world lost not only a great Ranger, a great man.
That's a great story, T. I think that's a great story. And, I got choked up hearing it because I love your parents. Your parents are like my parents, man. So that's a great story. With that, we'll sign off.
Cheers. Rest in peace to both Jimmy Hayes and
cheers.
Rod Gilbert.
See you guys on the ice. That's all from us from over here at the Scoreboard, Addicts. We appreciate you spending this time with us. Think Green, B Green, and Big Green. No, not Gardner Minshew. They suck. All right. Thanks for being with us. We appreciate your time, and we'll catch you next time. Please like, share, subscribe. From Nick, the Rook, and TJ, who is on his way to being hammered. We thank you. Have a great one.
Stay rock.